On her wedding day, Nora was ready to walk down the aisle, her heart brimming with anticipation and joy. The chapel doors were about to swing open, revealing a scene of white flowers, smiling faces, and the promise of a lifetime with her beloved, Ethan. However, her loyal dog, Bruno, suddenly and inexplicably blocked her path. He stood firm, his deep brown eyes locked onto hers, refusing to move an inch. At first, she thought he was simply nervous, perhaps overwhelmed by the unfamiliar setting in the crowd of people, but then she saw it. Something was terribly wrong. His usual cheerful demeanor was replaced by a solemn stillness, a sense of urgency that sent a shiver down her spine. What happened next changed everything about this day, transforming it from a traditional wedding ceremony into an unexpected journey of love, devotion, and a desperate search for answers. She stood at the entrance of the chapel, her beloved dog Bruno, a sturdy and normally cheerful Labrador, planted himself firmly in front of her, blocking her path. The guests seated inside turned towards the entrance, murmuring in surprise and curiosity. Nora had raised Bruno from a puppy, and he had been her shadow through every significant moment of her life, her confidant, her protector, her unwavering source of comfort. Yet today, of all days, his behavior was completely out of character. He didn't bark or whine. Instead, he sat looking up at her with a deep, solemn stare that seemed to hold a world of meaning, a silent plea that resonated with her soul. The air crackled with unspoken tension, the joyous anticipation of the wedding momentarily suspended as everyone's attention focused on the unexpected drama unfolding at the chapel doors. "Bruno, what's wrong?" Nora whispered, bending down to stroke his head, her voice laced with concern and confusion. Bruno responded by gently placing his paw on her hand, a gesture that tugged at her heart, a silent plea that spoke volumes. She tried to step forward, to reassure him and continue with the ceremony, but Bruno wouldn't budge, his stance unwavering, his gaze fixed on hers. Her father, standing behind her, whispered urgently, "Nora, we need to move forward. Everyone is—" waiting. Ignoring the whispers and the ticking clock, Nora knelt beside Bruno, her elegant white dress fanning out on the stone floor, a stark contrast to the rough texture beneath her. She looked into his eyes, searching for an answer, a clue to his unusual behavior, and noticed for the first time that morning how tired he seemed. His usual spark was missing, replaced by a quiet resignation that sent a chill through her, a sense of foreboding that she couldn't shake off. Just then, her groom, Ethan, appeared at the door, his face etched with concern, his eyes mirroring her own confusion. "Is everything all right?" he asked, his voice echoing slightly in the hushed chapel, a gentle question that hung in the air, unanswered. Nora shook her head, unable to hide her worry, her voice barely a whisper. Something's not right with Bruno. The moment held a strange, surreal quality, as if time had slowed down just for them. The world outside the chapel doors, fading into a distant hum. Ethan crouched beside her and Bruno, his suit crinkling softly, a sound that seemed amplified in the silence. "Let's not worry about the time," he said, his eyes meeting Nora's with a reassuring calm, a silent promise of unwavering support. "We'll figure this out together." As they both comforted Bruno, the chapel door remained open behind them, the soft sounds of nature drifting in, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, a stark contrast to the tension inside. The scene was set, the mystery deepening, and all Nora knew was that she wouldn't take another step until she understood what was troubling her faithful friend, who had never asked for anything in return for his loyalty, a bond that transcended words and expectations. As the guests waited, A story of love, devotion, and unexpected challenges began to unfold, reminding everyone present that sometimes life's most important moments come with no warning, disrupting carefully laid plans and forcing them to confront unexpected realities. As Nora and Ethan sat beside Bruno, the murmur of the waiting guests faded into a distant hum, a background noise that seemed irrelevant in the face of their growing concern. Nora's mother, visibly anxious, approached them, her voice laced with concern, her eyes filled with unspoken questions. "Nora, dear, we need to continue. Can Ethan's friend take Bruno outside? Perhaps he's just a bit overwhelmed with the crowd." But Nora shook her head, her decision firm, her resolve unwavering. "No, Mom, something's off. He's never acted like this. I need to understand why." She stroked Bruno's head, feeling the slight tremor in his body, a subtle sign of distress that she couldn't ignore. It was then she noticed more clearly the subtle signs she had missed in the hectic days leading up to the wedding. Bruno had been quieter, his appetite reduced, his usual enthusiasm for morning walks waning, subtle changes that had slipped beneath the radar amidst the whirlwind of wedding preparations. Ethan supported her without hesitation, his presence a source of strength and reassurance. "Let's take a moment here," he suggested, his voice calm and steady. They asked the guests for patience, promising that the ceremony would proceed soon, a promise that hung in the air, uncertain and fragile. With the help of Nora's bridesmaid, Sophie, they moved Bruno to a quiet corner of the church's garden, where the noise and bustle of the crowd were just a gentle echo, a peaceful sanctuary away from the tension inside. Sophie, a veterinary student, began examining Bruno more closely, her hands gentle but thorough. She checked his eyes, his pulse, and when she touched a spot on his belly, Bruno whimpered softly, a sound that pierced Nora's heart. "Nora, his stomach feels unusually tight, and his heart rate is erratic," Sophie said, her voice filled with concern. "These could be signs of distress or even pain. He really should see a vet as soon as possible." The words hit Nora like a wave, her heart sinking as the reality of the situation began to settle in. Bruno, her constant companion through ups and downs, might be seriously ill, his life hanging in the balance. Turning to Ethan, Nora found the reassurance she needed in his eyes, a silent understanding that transcended words. "Go," he said gently. "I'll handle everything here. Take Bruno to the vet now. We can wait." With a heavy heart, Nora nodded, her wedding dress rustling softly as she stood, the decision painful yet clear. Today was supposed to be about vows of love and commitment. And as she looked at Bruno, she realized that those vows extended to him too. A silent promise of unwavering loyalty. She and Sophie gently led Bruno away, their footsteps echoing in the silence, leaving behind the wedding that was and embracing the unexpected journey that lay ahead. To her car parked behind the chapel, Nora and Sophie gently settled Bruno in the back. As they secured him, his tail gave a weak wag, a small gesture that seemed to convey his understanding that Nora was doing everything she could for him, a silent thank you for her unwavering devotion. Sophie jumped into the driver's seat, her expression a mix of determination and concern, and as they drove away, Nora glanced back at the chapel. Ethan stood there, a supportive smile on his face, his presence a pillar of strength, even from afar. His unwavering support was a beacon of hope in the midst of their growing anxiety. The drive to the vet was tense, each minute stretching out before them, an eternity of worry. Nora held Bruno's head in her lap, whispering words of comfort, trying to soothe both the dog and her own fraying nerves, her voice a gentle murmur against the backdrop of the car's engine. The vet's office was not far, but the journey felt like an eternity, each passing moment amplifying the uncertainty that hung in the air. Upon arrival, they were met by Dr. Pfizer, the vet who had known Bruno since he was a puppy, his familiar, face now etched with concern. His grave expression as he greeted them at the door did little to ease Nora's worry, his demeanor a silent acknowledgement of the seriousness of the situation. They hurried inside, the clinic's sterile smell a stark contrast to the floral-scented air of the wedding chapel, a jarring reminder of the shift from celebration to crisis. Dr. Pfizer led them straight to the examination room. His professionalism, a thin veil over his concern, his movements efficient and focused. As Bruno lay on the examination table, his breathing shallow, Nora's thoughts raced, a whirlwind of fear and uncertainty. Today was supposed to be filled with joy and celebration, but as she stood by Bruno, ready to face whatever came their way, she knew that this too was a part of love. Staying by each other's side no matter what, through sickness and health, through joy and sorrow. Inside the quiet confines of the veterinary clinic, the gentle hum of medical equipment filled the air, a constant background noise to the tense atmosphere, as Dr. Pfizer conducted a thorough examination of Bruno. Nora watched, intently, her wedding dress a stark contrast to the clinical surroundings, a symbol of the day that had been turned upside down, her heart hanging on every movement the vet made, every breath Bruno took. Dr. Pfizer's experienced hands moved with precision and care, his touch gentle yet thorough. He took X-rays, listened to Bruno's heart, and ran some immediate blood tests, his movements precise and deliberate. The atmosphere was tense, the silence punctuated only by the soft whir of machines, with Sophie standing by Nora, offering silent support, her presence a comforting anchor in the midst of the uncertainty. After what seemed like an eternity, Dr. Pfizer turned to face Nora, his expression somber, his eyes filled with concern. "Nora, I'm concerned about Bruno," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "His heart isn't sounding right and he's showing signs of severe abdominal distress. We need to do more tests, but it looks like he might have a serious condition." Nora felt a chill run through her hands clutching the edges of her dress, her knuckles white, her heart pounding in her chest. "But he will be okay, right? We can treat him, can't we?" Her voice was a fragile whisper, barely hiding her fear, a desperate plea for reassurance. Dr. Pfizer sighed, his expression softening, his eyes filled with compassion. "We'll do everything we can, Nora," he said, his voice filled with empathy. "I need to keep him overnight for observation and to run some more tests. It's the best way to find out exactly what's wrong and how we can treat him." The thought of leaving Bruno alone in the clinic overnight, especially on her wedding day, was almost too much for Nora to bear, a heavy weight settling in her chest. Tears welled in her eyes as she stroked Bruno's fur, feeling the warmth of his body and the slow rise and fall of his chest, a desperate attempt to hold on to the moment. "Okay," Nora agreed, her voice steadying with resolve, her determination overriding her fear. "Do whatever it takes, Dr. Pfizer. I trust you." As she signed the necessary paperwork, her phone buzzed, a notification from Ethan, checking in, his presence a constant source of support. She quickly typed a response, updating him on the situation. His reply was immediate and reassuring. A simple message that read, "I'm here for you, no matter what, we all are." A message that brought a wave of relief and gratitude. Leaving the clinic without Bruno was one of the hardest things Nora had ever done. A painful separation on a day that was supposed to be filled with joy. As she and Sophie walked back to the car, the evening air felt cooler. The sky painted with strokes of pink and orange as the sun began to set. A beautiful but melancholic scene. The world looked beautiful and serene, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions raging inside her, a whirlwind of worry and uncertainty. Back at the chapel, the guests were still waiting, the earlier murmur of curiosity now a quiet buzz of concern, a collective holding of breath. Ethan met her at the entrance, his face a mask of worry that melted into relief when he saw her, his eyes filled with unspoken questions. Nora explained the situation to the guests, her voice clear but thick with emotion. her words a testament to her love for Bruno. "Thank you all for your patience and for being here today," she said, her voice echoing in the quiet space. "Bruno is very ill, and I had to make sure he was taken care of. Our plan now is to wait for some more news from the vet, and then we'll see." The guests responded with nods of understanding and words of support, their presence a comforting embrace. Many came up to Nora, offering hugs and comforting words, reinforcing the bonds of family and friendship that the day had brought together. As the sun fully set, casting long shadows over the chapel grounds, Nora and Ethan stood together, hand in hand, facing their assembled friends and family, their love a beacon in the fading light. The delay in the ceremony had turned into a poignant reminder of what truly mattered, love in all its forms, whether it be for a partner, a friend, or a four-legged companion who had been by Nora's side through thick and thin, a silent testament to unwavering loyalty. Deciding to proceed with a smaller, simpler ceremony right there in the garden, Nora felt a renewed sense of purpose, a realization that this wasn't the wedding she had planned, but it was the wedding she needed, a celebration of love in its purest form, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and commitment. This wasn't the wedding day she had planned, but it was one that showed the strength of her relationships and the depth of her heart, a testament to the enduring power of love in the face of adversity. As they prepared to exchange vows under the twilight sky, Nora knew that regardless of the challenges ahead, she was surrounded by love, a comforting embrace that would carry her through any storm. As twilight deepened, the chapel garden transformed into a serene tableau, lit by strings of soft white lights that twinkled like stars above, casting a magical glow over the intimate gathering. Nora and Ethan stood beneath an ancient oak tree, its branches whispering in the gentle evening breeze, a silent witness to their love. The impromptu setting was intimate, with only their closest friends and family gathered around, their faces aglow with the soft light, reflecting a mix of concern and admiration, their presence a comforting circle of support. Ethan took Nora's, hands in his eyes shining with tears that mirrored her own, tears of joy, relief, and the weight of the day's emotional journey. As they began to speak their vows, Nora's voice wavered, not just from the chill of the night, but from the weight of the day's events, the uncertainty that still hung in the air. "Ethan," she began, her voice steady despite the trembling of her hands, her words a heartfelt declaration of love and resilience. "Today has not gone as we planned, but life rarely does. What matters is that we face whatever comes together, with love and courage. You showed me that today, standing by me, making it easy to choose what's right, even when it's hard. I vow to always stand by you, to face every challenge with you, and to cherish every joyous moment with you." Ethan squeezed her hands, his voice strong yet gentle, his words a promise of unwavering support and understanding. "Nora, today you reminded me of the depth of your kindness and the strength of your spirit. Your love for Bruno, for all of us, shows the true beauty of your heart. I promise to support you, to honor your compassion, and to make our life together a sanctuary of love, no matter the storms we may face." As they exchanged rings, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, their light a silent blessing on the couple, a celestial affirmation of their love. The guests, moved by the sincerity and depth of the vows, applauded softly, many wiping away tears, their hearts touched by the raw emotion of the moment. After the ceremony, as the guests mingled and celebrated the union, Nora's thoughts lingered on Bruno, her heart aching with worry. She excused herself and walked to a quiet corner of the garden, looking up at the night sky, sending a silent prayer for her loyal friend, hoping with all her heart that he would pull through, her love a beacon in the darkness. Her solitude was interrupted by the soft footsteps of her mother, who came to stand beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders, her presence a comforting embrace. "He's in good hands, Nora. Dr. Pfizer will take great care of him," her mother reassured her, her voice a soothing balm to Nora's aching heart. Nora nodded, her eyes on the horizon where the first stars were starting to appear, their light a distant hope. "I know, Mom. It's just hard not being with him right now. He's always been there for me. And now, when he needs me most, I feel so helpless," her voice a whisper of worry. Her mother squeezed her tightly, her words a gentle reminder of unconditional love. "He knows you love him, darling, and he knows you did everything you could today. That's what matters." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of gentle music, soft laughter, and the warmth of shared stories and memories, a celebration of love and resilience. Ethan stayed close by Nora's side, his presence a constant comfort, a silent promise of unwavering support. As the celebration wound down, the couple shared a quiet moment alone under the now star-filled sky, their love a beacon in the night. Ethan touched her cheek gently, his eyes filled with tenderness. Today was perfect, not despite the challenges, but because of them. It showed us what really matters, didn't it? Nora leaned into his touch, her heart full despite the uncertainty, her love a shield against the unknown. "It did," she agreed softly, her voice filled with emotion. "Love in all its forms is what makes life worth living. It's what will see us through everything." As they stood together, the night whispered around them, a promise of endless possibilities, a future filled with love and hope. Nora felt the truth of their words settle around her like a cloak, warming her against the night's chill, a sense of peace amidst the lingering worry. Whatever the future held, she knew they would face it together, with love as their guide, their bond unbreakable. The first light of dawn cast a gentle glow over the world, as if nature itself was waking up. To celebrate the new beginning, a symbol of hope and renewal, Nora, unable to sleep, had risen early. Wrapped in a light shawl against the morning chill, she stood in the quiet of her garden, a cup of warm tea in her hands, lost in thought, her mind filled with worry for Bruno. The phone call came just as the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, a beautiful but anxious moment. It was Dr. Pfizer, his voice calm, but carrying a weight that immediately set Nora's heart racing, a premonition of difficult news. "Nora, I have news about Bruno. Can you come to the clinic? It's important." With a heavy heart, Nora and Ethan drove to the clinic, the silence between them filled with unspoken fears and hopeful prayers. Their love a silent plea for good news. Arriving at the clinic, they were greeted by Dr. Pfizer, who wore a solemn expression, his eyes filled with compassion. He led them to where Bruno was resting, looking more peaceful than he had the day before, his breathing steady, his body relaxed. "Bruno is stable, but I'm afraid the news isn't good," Dr. Pfizer began, his tone gentle, his words a prelude to a difficult truth. "He has a serious condition." "Bruno is stable, but I'm afraid the news isn't good," Dr. Pfizer began, his tone gentle, his words a prelude to a difficult truth. "He has a serious heart condition that had gone undetected until now. It's treatable, but it will require ongoing care and adjustments to his lifestyle. He won't be the lively dog he once was, but with the right treatment, he can still have a good quality of life." Nora knelt beside Bruno, stroking his fur softly, her touch a gentle caress filled with love and worry. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision, but she blinked them away, focusing on the dog she loved so dearly. Bruno opened his eyes and gave a soft wag of his tail, as if to reassure her, a silent message of comfort and understanding. "It's okay, boy. We'll get through this together," she whispered, her voice a soothing murmur, her words a promise of unwavering support. Ethan knelt beside her, putting an arm around her shoulders, his presence a comforting weight, a symbol of their shared commitment. "We'll do whatever it takes," he said firmly, his voice filled with resolve. Bruno is part of our family. We stick together, no matter what. Grateful for Ethan's support, Nora smiled through her tears, squeezing his hand, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. They spent some time with Bruno, discussing his care plan with Dr. Pfizer, absorbing the details of his condition and the necessary adjustments to their lives. Before finally heading home, their spirits lifted by the knowledge that while the road ahead would be different, it was one they would travel together, hand in hand, with love as their guide. Over the next few months, Nora and Ethan adjusted their lives to accommodate Bruno's needs, their love for him shaping their daily routines. They took shorter, gentler walks, savoring the quiet moments of companionship, enjoyed quiet evenings at home, creating a peaceful sanctuary for their beloved dog, and learned everything they could about his condition, becoming experts in his care. Life had slowed down, the pace of their days more deliberate, but in many ways it was richer and more meaningful, filled with moments of quiet joy and deep connection. Their story of love and resilience spread among their friends and family, touching hearts and inspiring those who heard it, a testament to the power of unwavering devotion. Nora started a blog to share their journey, documenting Bruno's progress and their own experiences, connecting with others facing similar challenges, creating a community bound by love and support, a virtual space where they could share their triumphs and offer comfort in times of hardship. As their first anniversary approached, Nora and Ethan planned a simple celebration at home, a quiet gathering of love and gratitude. The garden, where they had pledged their lives to each other, was in full bloom, a riot of colors and fragrances that delighted the senses, a symbol of the beauty and resilience of life. That evening, as they sat together with Bruno lying contentedly at their feet, his breathing steady, his eyes filled with peace, Nora reflected on the year that had passed, a year that had brought unexpected challenges but also profound growth. "This wasn't the path we expected," she said, looking at Ethan with a smile, her eyes filled with love and contentment, "but I wouldn't change it for the world." Ethan took her hand, his eyes reflecting the deep love and commitment that had only grown stronger, a bond forged in the fires of adversity. "Oh, life is unpredictable," he said, his voice filled with tenderness. "But as long as we have each other. And dear Bruno, I know we can face anything. It's the challenges that show us what we're made of and what really matters." Under the stars, in the quiet sanctuary of their garden, they renewed their vows, promising once again to cherish each other. In sickness and in health, in joy and in sorrow, their words a testament to the enduring power of their love. Bruno, ever their faithful companion, gave a gentle woof, as if giving his blessing to the promises made, a silent affirmation of their bond. Nora's blog post about their anniversary went viral, resonating with people all over the world, their story, a beacon of hope and inspiration. Her final lines captured the essence of their journey, the heart of their love story. "Love is not just about the easy times, but about finding beauty and joy in the unexpected twists of life. It's about standing together, supporting each other, and learning that no matter what comes our way, love endures and grows." As they turned in for the night, Nora, Ethan, and Bruno shared a quiet, perfect moment of peace, a testament to the enduring power of love and a reminder that sometimes the heart's journey, though filled with unexpected turns, is the most beautiful of all, a journey that leads to deeper understanding, stronger connections, and a love that transcends all obstacles. The quiet stillness of the night, the gentle rhythm of Bruno's breathing, the warmth of Ethan's hand in hers, all spoke of a love that had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, a love that was a sanctuary, a haven of peace and unwavering support.